In this lesson, we're going to cover how to create and file your flight plan using SimBrief, a free tool for anyone to use. We'll also briefly touch on navigational data and why it's important to know about it. First, let's go over a few acronyms and phraseology you'll need to know before we jump into SimBrief. Payload weight is the weight of the passengers, cargo, and baggage. Fuel weight is the total weight of all fuel on board the aircraft. Zero fuel weight, or ZFW, is the weight of the aircraft including passengers, cargo, and baggage, but does not include fuel. Maximum takeoff weight is the maximum weight of the aircraft at takeoff. Now let's jump into SimBrief and talk about how to actually create and file your flight plan. If you have not already done so, you need to create a profile here on SimBrief. Simply go to Register, create an account, and create your account using your first name, last name, email, what your alias would be, for example, what your username would want to be, and then your password. If you already have a NaviGraph account, NaviGraph now owns SimBrief, so you can simply sign in to your NaviGraph account by going to Go to Sign In here. Now, I already have an account with SimBrief and NaviGraph, so I'm just going to log in. Once you log in, you come into your dashboard. The first thing you'll want to do is check your AIRAC cycle, which you currently have current on your SimBrief profile. Now, I am subscribed to NaviGraph Unlimited, and I get the current AIRAC cycles as they come out. An AIRAC cycle is your navigational data, what you actually have inside your aircraft in regards to waypoints, approaches, arrivals, departures, star SIDs, all that kind of thing. All of that is done through your AIRAC cycle. If you have X-Plane 12, your default AIRAC cycle is 2212. If you have Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, it continuously updates, I believe it's every 2 or 3 months, to the latest AIRAC cycle. Whichever sim you're using, make sure your AIRAC cycle matches that of your simulator. To do that, all you got to do is go into AIRACs and change it to the current cycle or whatever cycle you are going to be using. To do that, simply click View AIRAC Settings. And then you'll scroll down on the AIRAC cycles to whichever you need to utilize. For example, if you're using X-Plane 12, we would use 2212 and activate it here. Or if you're using Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020, it may be 2309, 2308, whatever it may be, current AIRAC for you, this is where you do it. Now we're back at the dashboard, and we're going to be creating a flight plan flying from Atlanta to JFK. To do that, we're going to go to the new flight in the upper left-hand corner. Going to bring up our flight planning profile here. We're going to start from the top and go down to the bottom. First, we're going to start with our airline. Whatever airline you are flying for, there's a 3-letter ICAO code you would put here. For example, if I was flying United, I put Uniform Alpha Lima. If I was flying Delta, it'd be Delta Alpha Lima. And if it was Southwest, it'd be Sierra Whiskey Alpha. American is Alpha Alpha Lima, and so forth. We're going to do Southwest today, so we're going to fly Southwest Airlines, and the flight number, let's put 782. Completely random number, just pulled it out of the air. So Southwest flight 782 from Atlanta, so that's going to be Kilo Alpha Tango Lima, to New York JFK, so Kilo Juliet Foxtrot Kilo. If you don't know what your ICAO code is for your airport, simply go to Google and search for the airport, and you'll find it on the Wikipedia page or the nav page. There's plenty of pages out there that give you that. Now we're going to get into the actual aircraft itself. This is very important that you know this information. We already talked about our weights, so we're going to get to that in a second. But we want to start with our actual aircraft type. If you're thinking, oh, I'm flying the 737. Well, which 737? If you could see under aircraft type here, we have several 737s. We have a 737-200, 737-300, 400, 500, 600, 700, business jet, 800, business jet 2, max 8, 900, business jet 3. So as you can see, there are quite a number of different types of aircraft that are the 737s. Today we're going to be flying the 737-700. So we're going to collect that. You notice it automatically does a ton of things right off the bat when you select your aircraft type. Here's the thing. Even though it does this, you're not done planning. You've got to verify all this information. But this is one of the reasons SimBrief is so popular, because it basically dispatches you right out of the box. Now there's a variant or airframe option, which you can select, that gives some configurations that have been created for the particular aircraft. In this case, you can see the PMDG, Microsoft Flight Simulator, first class config, economy config, and then special freighter config. I'm not going to use any of these for now. I'm just going to use default and go with that. You do have a climb profile. In general, it's going to be the same unless it's been specific airframe's been created. So we're going to keep it default. Cruise cost index. Cost index is a number put into your FMS that changes what your max output of your engines will be at certain phases of flight. Now, I recommend keeping this cost index into auto. It's going to automatically calculate one for you. But if you are flying with a virtual airline and maybe they have a specific cost index they want you to fly at, that's where you would put it. Scent profile, I'm going to keep regular. Fuel factor, also going to keep 0. Fuel factor is when you need to adjust the fuel amounts that SimBrief gives you automatically, because let's say the 737-700 by PMDG uses a little bit more fuel than it really should because of the modeling, then you could change what they call the P factor. But we're not going to adjust that for now. We're going to leave it as 00. ATC call sign should automatically be your airline and flight number. Leave that as is. Registration, doesn't really matter which one you have, or the FIN number. Neither of these really matter on VATSIM. But if you want to change into something that matches your model, then you could do that. Cell cal, don't worry about this as well. ABCD is fine. Just leave it open and blank. Now let's talk about our OFP layout. You have several options. As you can see, you have Lido, American Airlines, Air Canada, British Airways, Delta, JetBlue, Southwest, United. All this does is it's a particular layout of the flight plan and how it's going to be presented to you. For now, we're going to keep it in the Lido format. It's the one I'm most familiar with, and in general, it's common apart from whatever particular airline you're flying for. So I keep it Lido for now. Air cycle, again, you have the option of changing your air cycle depending on what's available to you. Because I'm subscribed to Navigraph, I have all of the AIRAC cycles, all the way back to 2017. A couple of other options on the right-hand side. You have detailed nav log. I have that on. ETOPS planning, also have that on. And step climbs are planned and on. I don't have runway analysis or NOTAMs or FIR NOTAMs because, if you're honest, one, runway analysis isn't important on the large airports. NOTAMs change all the time. I just check them before I jump on VATSIM. Let's talk about units real fast. You have the option to change from pounds to kilograms. I'm going to keep it pounds because I fly in the United States and we use pounds as our unit of measurement for weight. But if you're flying somewhere else or you're flying a particular aircraft that doesn't have pounds as an option, you can only do kilograms. You need to make sure this unit matches whatever you're going to be using in the aircraft. It is crucial that these are the same. Otherwise, you're going to be doing a ton of conversions later on, and we don't want to have to worry about that. Flight maps, you do have the option to include flight maps in your plan. Again, not really necessary. I'm going to keep them off. Taxi out and taxi in. This is how much fuel that you would, quote unquote, need for the taxi out or taxi in. This would be something you would want to adjust if you're flying, let's say, during a busy event. You might want to have your taxi out up to 40 minutes or 45 minutes. That way you're not having to worry about running out of fuel or getting to your minimum takeoff fuel before you get to the point to take off. Next, we're going to talk about flight rules. Obviously, today we're flying an airline and we're going to be in IFR. You do have options to do VFR, IFR to VFR, VFR to IFR, but if you're flying in an airline, you're going to be flying IFR. Type of flight, you have options of doing scheduled, non-scheduled, general aviation, military, and training. Again, in this case, we're flying an airline. We're going to select scheduled. Alternates count. This is how many different alternate airports you want to have on board your flight plan. Again, you can have none, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 is generally what you're going to have selected, so let's keep 1 selected as well. Now, under optional entries, this is where it's important to pay attention. This is, of course, automatically calculated, but it can be customized. I think it's very important to go through this information. As you can see, scheduled block time. Now, what is block time? Block time is the point at which you push back from the gate and then you arrive at the other gate. This isn't the amount of time it actually takes you to fly this route. This is just the amount of time it's estimating it'll take you to leave and to arrive at your gates. Now we're on the subject of time. Let's quickly revisit something at the very top. You have this option of departure time. Departure time is the time at which you're estimating you're going to be pushing back from the gate. It's important that you get this to close as possible to what you're actually going to be doing. If we're planning a flight right now and it's 1404 UTC, as it says down here in the lower left-hand corner, now 1405, we want to make sure we have enough time to get the sim up and running, or get the aircraft up and running and pushing back from the gate. So what I'm actually going to do is change the time to 1530, because 1530 is going to give me a good hour and 25 minutes to get everything ready and going. The reason why I do that is because, well, I'm recording videos, so it's going to take me a little bit to get there. Make sure you get this departure time as close to as possible, and there's a reason for that, and we'll get into that when we talk about filing on VATSIM. So back down here at your scheduled block time, we've got that 2 hours and 10 minutes. We'll leave that automatically calculated. Departure runway, this is automatically calculated based upon the weather. As you can see here, right now, winds are 090 at 9 knots, so runway 08 right. Very valid departure runway. Arrival runway, also same thing. We've got a current ATIS out of JFK at 330 at 16, gusting 24, and 04 is a valid runway for that as well. However, if they're running events or VATSIM's actually online, you could go and actually check the actual ATIS on that airport. Load into the flight sim, pop up the radio, see what it actually is before you actually adjust this, if you want to. For now, departure runway 08 right and arrival 04 right, we're going to keep the same. This is important right here, your altitude. In general, it calculates a pretty good altitude, but if you're doing a short flight, let's say I was flying from Atlanta to Charlotte in a short little puddle jumper flight, I would not want to climb up to, say, 28,000 feet or 32,000 feet. I'd want to keep relatively low because it's going to be a very short flight. I don't want to be reaching cruise and then immediately descending because I need some time to pre-plan our arrival. And when we get to that, you'll understand why. So adjusting your altitude here on short flights is crucial to make sure you have enough time to do the necessary tasks in the aircraft. So today we're going to leave it auto because we're going to have plenty of time, but just know it's an option. if you're flying for a virtual airline and they're using some system to designate how many passengers you have, how much freight you have, payload, this is the important part of making sure you adjust the passengers. You have the options of a drop down of auto, none, or full, but you also can type in a specific number. Now today we're just going to keep it on auto and allow it to automatically calculate how many passengers we're going to have online. Because I'm not flying for a virtual airline, it's not crucial that it has a certain amount of weight. Under freight's the same thing. You have the option to select auto, none, or full. We're going to keep it in auto because, again, not doing a specific amount of freight because I'm not flying for a virtual airline today. Payload, this is your total payload. So this is your baggage, your everything, right? So you have the option of auto, none, and full. Again, we're going to keep it auto today. 0 fuel weight. So you have minimum and you have maximum. This is going to basically put in the minimum amount of weight on your aircraft, aka nobody's going to be on it. It's just your aircraft weight plus that's it, or your max, which is your aircraft weight plus all of your payload. Today, we're just going to leave it auto as well. But again, if you're flying a virtual airline, there's a specific profile you need to be using. This is where you would adjust that. Now, you have options under fuel planning. You have options under text entries. For now, what we're going to do is leave fuel planning as I have it, which is contingency at 3% 15 minutes, and reserve fuel 45 minutes, which by law, IFR is minimum 45 minutes reserve fuel on board. So we're going to keep that. And everything else we're going to leave auto. We're going to touch anything here. We're going to leave it as is. But just know that there's options to adjust your fuel planning here. If you need a little bit less fuel, maybe on your aircraft, or a little bit more, you can adjust it here. We're going to have that option for now. Now let's talk about under text entries, your names and remarks. So this is where you can actually put in, specific custom dispatch remarks or something like that. Not really anything necessary. It's just a little bit of a tool that you could put into your flight plan if you wanted to. Maybe you're dispatching for somebody else, which is actually a thing you can do in SimBrief. You could throw information there. We're going to hide the options for now. Now let's talk about a route. In another lesson, we're going to talk about stars and SID specifically. And that's what we're going to see at the beginning and ending of almost every route you plan. For here, you'll see the FIL3 departure, standard instrument departure, or SID, and the Cameron 4 arrival, or standard arrival, a star. Along that, you have what they call transition points, before and after. Then you have an airway, Quebec 64. There's a Quebec airway. And then a waypoint along that airway that intersects with the next airway of Quebec 97. And then another waypoint delay, another waypoint RADS, and then a VOR, Sierra India Echo, not sure which VOR that is, and then it goes on the Cameron 4. Now we're going to talk about the actual flight planning in an aircraft and what it looks like to verify your routes. We'll be using the Boeing 737 for that, but you don't have to use that. You can use an Airbus. You can do whatever aircraft you're going to have. It's going to be slightly different, but verifying this route is so crucial to make sure you can actually fly it. Now, this is the first route that it gave us. Now, maybe this isn't the exact route we want to use. Maybe there's a different route we want to use, or maybe we want to make sure that this is actually a real route that Southwest would use or something like that. Now, there's an option to click Flight Aware. When you click it, it takes you to the Flight Aware website where you can look at the IFR departures that have come out of Atlanta and gone to JFK. If you notice here, frequency 76. So this is the route almost every airliner is using out of Atlanta to JFK. This is the altitude differences, but they usually fly between flight level 310 and flight level 390. And this is the route they fly, which is exactly the route that SimBrief gave us. The other routes we saw are under here under suggested routes. So you do have the option of clicking these and they'll give you different routes into JFK. This one looks kind of odd. It makes me wonder if this one was used to go around weather. We're going to keep the default suggested route that it gave us from the beginning. Once we've completed that, we are done with the creation of the flight plan. Now we just need to actually generate it. To do that, we're going to go upper left-hand corner and click the Generate Flight button. It's going to process some things and load up our briefing for us. This is our briefing. It gives us our information, Southwest 782. This is our call sign, departing Atlanta, going JFK. Our alternate is DC. Aircraft is Boeing 737-700. Departure date is today, 23rd of October, 2023 at 15:30 UTC. It's estimating an arrival time at 17:41 UTC. In the air, we should be flying for 1 hour and 43 minutes, a total block time of 2 hours and 11 minutes. Our altitude, our cruise altitude is 37,000 feet. Our cost index is 38. Our distance is 711 nautical miles. The average wind is 298 at 6.2. That's a cruise. Wind component, P021. ISA deviation, this is important for your FMS, +8. AIRAC cycle and the flight plan units. Make sure this is correct, guys, is pounds, and that's what I want. Now you'll see our load sheet. Our en-route fuel burn is estimated to be 9,262 pounds. Our passenger count is 149. Our empty weight is 84,119. Our estimated zero fuel weight is 118,589 pounds. Our estimated takeoff weight is 136,989 pounds. Our estimated landing weight is 127,727 pounds. Our block fuel today is 18,900 pounds. Cargo of 8,395 pounds. Our payload of 34,470 pounds. Our max zero fuel weight is 121,700 pounds, which is a default number. It's going to set that. And notice our estimated zero fuel weight is below our max. That's what we want to see. Max takeoff weight is 154,500 pounds, and that is below our estimated takeoff weight. And our max landing weight is 129,200 pounds, and that is below our estimated landing weight. Now we're going to scroll down and look at our briefing preview. We're going to show details. This is our actual Lido briefing. This is what we use from here on out in all of my videos when we're planning. You will see flight plans just like this utilized throughout all of the other videos. So be sure to understand how to get to here and print this off. Now, what I mean by print this off, you can just view it as a PDF, which you can just click here, or you can actually view as a PDF and print it physically off if you want to. I'm going to hide that for a second, and we're going to talk about filing your flight plan now. So to file your flight plan, simply select Pre-File on a network, either down here at the bottom or up here at the top. You can have the option of doing VATSIM, IVO, Pilot Edge, and POSCON. We're going to be using VATSIM today. We're going to select Pre-File. It's going to take me to the VATSIM website, which if you did the virtual flying basics for virtual general aviation, you've already seen this page before. If you haven't, you definitely should check out that course as well. But if you remember in that course, we filled out these blocks, almost all of them. But in this case, it is automatically filled out all of the blocks for us. Pretty sweet, huh? You do have the option of changing your times, your block off times. Say you're not going to need as much time. You could reduce that, say 1,500 hours or something like that. But I'm going to keep it 1,530 for now. You can change your altitude here. Pretty much anything you can change. The biggest thing here to remember is down here at the bottom, you have the remarks block where you could put in, say, your call sign. Let's say it's a funky call sign. Maybe it's not when you're in the major carriers. I'm trying to think of one right off the top of my head. I really can't. But it's something weird. There used to be a virtual airline I was part of that was Sierra Oscar Lima, which was Solaris. So I would put in call sign Solaris. And that helps us as controllers to know what your call sign is. That way we can call you up in the correct call sign, not guessing what is Sierra Oscar Lima. What is that, right? Especially if you're in a virtual airline, put in your call sign down in the remarks. It really does help us air traffic controllers on VATSIM. Voice rules stay the same. We're going to keep it voice. I highly recommend you do voice, guys. I know it may be scary to talk to ATC. We're not evil, bad dudes. We're not going to come after you. We want to help you. Please, if you can, use voice. Now, once this is done, all we have to do is click File Flight Plan. And then, boom, automatically flight plan filed. Enjoy your flight. Guys, that's how easy it is to file a flight plan from SimBrief. It is super, super simple. So I highly encourage you guys to check this out. Dig into SimBrief. Do multiple flight plans. Try different things. And then file your flight plan with VATSIM. And then we'll jump into the next lesson where you start talking about detailed information about this flight plan, like the stars and the SIDS, what those look like, and how those change how you fly. So I'll see you all in the next lesson.